I feel like I'm already behind in my life.
Really? Because I feel like I've still got so many things I want to do and try. It's never too late.
Yeah, but it can feel like it sometimes, especially in your 20s when you lose that comfortable structure you are used to your whole life.
So you have to create your own structure, find your own path. Think of it as an adventure.
That sounds very overwhelming. And it can feel like it, especially when you feel like you are alone in it.
I get it, it can be tough, but you've got to look for the positives.
You and your positives. All right, cancel. I will now hear your argument on that matter.
You are about to be a part of Life Happens.
The lifestyle podcast with an unusual combination of new perspective and seasoned experience.
With Michelle R. Williams.
And Nick Hirst.
Come and join our conversation on all aspects of life.
Because life happens.
But you can too. Okay then. So, if it pleases the court, this whole idea actually of it's never too late ties in with what we were talking about in the last episode about starting a new project. It's never too late. And that implies the willingness and ability to start something completely new at any time in your life. The thing is, this is what I would say, is don't panic. Don't think it is too late, because it isn't. It doesn't matter what age you are or what stage of life you think you're at.
So there is something very obvious that I want to start this topic with, but it's something that needs to be said, and that's social media. Because when you were talking about, not panicking, like don't panic, you have time, blah, 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 blah. Yes. But the issue is that social media just make you feel like you are too late, like you are behind. And at this point, I'm not even talking about influencers and celebrities because rationally, I think that we got to this point when we all know that that's partially fake. Like, people know how to fake social media, how to fake luxurious life, and so on and so on. So, rationally, you can excuse that. What I'm talking about is that I sort of notice that I'm having these issues even with my friends. Like, I'm watching my friends' social media, and it makes me feel like I'm behind because you know these people. And even though you sort of know, I don't want to call it fake because it's not fake, but it's just a small part of their life. But at the same time, it still makes you feel like you are not doing something properly and like you should be doing more. And I had this thought like, I don't know, last week when I was watching Instagram stories of my very close friend, and she was having this very productive day. She was doing so many things and she looked so good while doing it. And it was exactly the day when I was just rotting in my bed, doing absolutely nothing the whole day. And it made me feel bad because I was like, she's there doing all of these things, putting her life together. And here I am laying in my bed, just scrolling on TikTok and doing absolutely nothing, which is stupid. And I see you smiling because you know how stupid it is. And I know it too. The point is that you see your life, you see every single day of your life, but you only see the best days of your friends' lives. But it still sort of creates this illusion in your head. And this illusion is very hard to fight.
Yeah, that is peer pressure, and that is also the danger of social media, living your life constantly in public, something that actually obviously did not exist when I was at the age of 21 or when I was at school. But still that same social pressure that exists. And I get it. I know what you mean by that, because especially after you, bearing in mind, I grew up in England, different education system. So you leave school at 18 and then most of us would go on to university. And then after that, you'd be looking to step out into a career. And then there would be regular old boys meetings. Well, I say regular, like there would be one particular day of the year in the summer where you would go back to your old school. And of course, you can't help but to compare yourself to your peers and see how each of you are progressing in your career. And there's an element of competitiveness about that. But the idea of it being on social media and you're kind of living your life out publicly, digitally, and therefore you can be comparing yourself to how your peers are doing. That's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, because naturally we just tend to compare ourselves. Unfortunately, nowadays it's much easier to do with social media, and you are basically exposed to it every single day and basically every single minute of your everyday life, which is not comfortable and it can be a lot of pressure. But like at the same time, don't get me wrong, when I see my friends doing something, my first thought is always how proud of them I am. That's always the first thought. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's doing this and this. This is amazing. So good for her. Blah, 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 blah. But then, unfortunately, naturally, the second thought is, wait, why is she doing that and I'm not? And why is she successful and I'm not? And why her skin looks better than mine? And I am not someone who would really compare or like who would want to be someone else. I'm very comfortable with who I am, what I'm doing, and at what stage of life I am right now. But the thought is still there. And I think that it's especially hard when it's people in the same field, when people are doing the same thing you do. Because when I see my friends doing something I have no interest in, that will be just the first thought. It'll be just like, wow, I'm so proud of them. Good for them. And there will be no comparison because I'm not doing what they are doing. But when I am doing something they are doing, it's natural to compare it. And it's so dangerous because, first of all, you never know the background of their situation. Even when you are friends, you just can't know it. And second of all, you are usually the one who started later, and if someone's doing something for a year and you are doing the same thing for 6 months, it's obvious that you will be worse or you will be behind. And it's not a bad thing, but it makes you feel bad because you feel like you are behind and you feel like you should be somewhere else, just like your friends are.
Yeah, and actually, there's a point there, and the point you made earlier that relates to that about watching and following your friends on social media, following anybody on social media, because you made the point about they will show you their best day on social media. Nobody's going to make, or nobody that I've heard of yet, is going to make videos or whatever you would call it of themselves on social media of when they're having a really bad day. So you tend to always see the best of people when you're seeing them on social media. Same as when you meet friends. Say you meet at a function, at a party or something, and you say, how's things going? Most of the time, 99.9% of the time, people say, oh, it's going great. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Da, da, da. And then, of course, you start to feel, oh no, I should have been doing this. I should be doing that. And that's when you start to think it's too late. So now I'm sort of getting where you're coming from. But my point is,
Don't even remind me that because literally next weekend I'm meeting my high school girlfriends after like 9 months. I saw them last time before I went to America, and I'm about to see them again. Don't remind me. Don't remind me. Oh my gosh.
so it'll all be going off. How are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, I've done this, I've done that. And everybody will kind of, despite the smiles and the hugs, everybody will be slightly trying to outdo each other, or at least that's how I always see things. And I know that in those kind of social situations, I've always been somebody who's made the best of my situation. I never say, no, things are going really bad. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. But I think most of us go through our lives kind of making it up as we go along. And that's kind of what I've done, but always with the determination and proviso that the next day is going to be better than the last day. But the most
Yeah.
important day is right now. And make the best of of today. I always say, what is the most important day of your life? And it's today.
That's just you being the optimist you are. when you told me that sentence, was it yesterday, I think? And
Yeah,
you no, you didn't even tell me. You asked me out of nowhere. You
yeah.
asked me, "What's the most important day in your life?" And me being, the realistic person I am, I was like, "The day you are born." I mean, and then you came up with this optimistic thing, and I was like, "Oh, that was the point. Never mind then." But I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to see it that way, but unfortunately, it's not really the mindset that I know how to have. So I don't think today is the most important day of my life. I'm sorry. I don't want to, ruin this bubble of yours, but I think there are more important days in my life. But sort of coming back to what you were saying about people wanting to always come across as the best version of themselves and always talking about positives and stuff, I don't think I'm like that. Depends, it really depends who am I talking with. But when I picture, talking with my friends, I don't think I'm like that. Obviously, I will tell them the positive things going on in my life, but I'm being very realistic about it. And I'm someone who doesn't really have a problem to say, oh, yeah, this is what I'm doing. But to be honest, I'm really struggling with it right now. And it might just be me because as you were talking about this, I was sort of picturing different people that I've seen lately, and no one will tell you the bad thing. Everyone is always trying to remember just the good things about their life to sort of give you the illusion of, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm living my best life. And on one hand, I don't know, it's quite shallow. But on the other hand, I think that it can help you. When you do that, I think it can help you because suddenly it's so easy to get lost in the negative things. But suddenly, when you talk to someone and you are trying to portray your life in the best way possible, you have to remember the good things, which I think can actually make you feel better. So I don't think it's a bad thing.
No, it's not. Actually, it can be very motivating. But the point is that whatever stage of life you're at, and you think, oh, other people have got ahead of me, and I'm losing time. In fact, it's too late to change. My point is, it never is too late to change, and I think it's almost criminal to be in your 20s and think, oh, it's too late. Because of course it's not. You've got your life ahead of you. You've got so much time and potential. The thing that is criminal is to waste time vegetating in bed watching TikTok videos.
Okay, that was personal. Nick, that was very personal. I do not approve of that. Okay, sometimes you do need to just rot in
Yeah,
bed all
it's
day.
true. It's
Okay,
true. I've
mind you don't know. Maybe I was working on our social media. Okay, so be grateful.
Okay, fair enough. Good point. And I know I have days, especially if, the weather's really horrible and you actually don't have any commitments that involve other people that day. You don't have to be in work, you don't have to be in school or university. Sometimes you just think, to use an old English expression, pull up the drawbridge and just be a couch potato all day, watch TV, totally indulge myself, eat junk, and sometimes we all need that, actually. It's kind
We
of a
do,
way
and
that
it's so helpful.
yeah, it's a way to recharge your batteries. But what we're talking about is how you then try something new, how you make changes to your life. And at any point of your life, it's never too late to take on something, to do something different and feel confident about it. Because if you're judging yourself constantly against other people, what your friends are doing, what your peers are doing, you're just going to lose in your own mind the whole time. You're on a hiding to nothing because you can't do that. It's you that's important. So you have to take the action and do it in isolation to what people are
Yeah,
doing around you. Make your plan. Think, I'm going to do this now, and it could be big. It could be like a major career change. It could be like, for instance, deciding to go to university in a different country. For example, I'm not sure I know anybody who's ever thought of doing that.
I wonder.
Or it could just be something like, I want to take up playing badminton, having never done it before in my life. That was a bit random because I never played badminton. But you know what I mean? Just taking up some new kind of hobby or just learning a new skill. But I'm a firm believer that it's really, really good for you and innovating for your soul, for your mind, for your body to constantly be taking on different things, you know, trying out different things, going for different experiences, traveling to different places. I speak as somebody who really likes change. I would hate everything to stay the same the whole time. And I know a lot of people don't like change, fear it even. But the thing is, things are going to change in your life through your life. So it's better to try and embrace that. Try and stay one step ahead of that rather than constantly playing catch up. I don't know if any of this resonates with you. Probably the university in a foreign country thing might.
We will get back to that, but there was one more point, and that's I think it's also the age difference because like change obviously is I'm the same. Like I need changes throughout my life. I can't be at the same place and the same situation for too long. But changes are also so scary. There is nothing scarier than like huge life change. And I think that the time when it hits you the most is in your 20s, after you leave high school or eventually university. But just think about it your whole life, you grow up with this structure. And it's the same for everybody. You go to kindergarten, you go to elementary school, you go to high school, eventually you go to university, which not everybody does. But basically, it doesn't matter. It's like plus, minus a couple of years. But then you are done with school and suddenly you lose all the structure and you are thrown out there into your own life. And everyone's telling you, okay, what do you do now? Like you have to know what you want. You have to have it all figured out. But no one ever told you how to figure these things out. And for example, when I give like a personal example, I had the situation when I left high school because I wasn't really sure about the field I want to continue in. So I didn't go to university straight away. And suddenly I was there and no one told me what to do, but everyone kept asking me what I'm doing. And I had no idea. And I didn't know how to figure it out. And so you lose that structure and then you face all these changes while still figuring out what you want to do. And it's overwhelming and it's scary. And not everybody is brave enough for a change. And so many people still follow at least the bits of the structure that they imagine, which means, you know, finish high school, go to university, find a job and stay in that job for the rest of your life, then retire, and that's it. And I don't want to judge that in any way because it's comfortable, because you know what to expect and it's a comfort zone that we sort of were taught that's how life will look for the rest of it. And so I understand people finding comfort in it and not wanting to change it. But unfortunately, I'm someone who doesn't really like that direction of life. So I was doing everything but it. And I went through so many changes. Just this year, I went through so many changes and it's hard. It's not comfortable, but you know, sometimes it's just needed.
I can see that, you know, and I'm sort of thinking back to the dim and distant past when I was in my 20s. And what I was about to say was, I can see that in your 20s, possibly even in your late teens, depending on the level of further education that you go to. Yeah, that is the biggest time when you're going to have some very, very bumpy changes. Often it'll be the time when you leave your parents' home. So you leave the nest that you felt comfortable in all your life. And at the same time, you're having to make career decisions, quite possibly major relationship decisions as well. All these things all come at once. And at a time of your life where it's hard enough to deal with one thing so major, let alone multiple changes in your life. So yeah, it can be scary. But it's scary for everybody. It's the same for everybody. And we all somehow muddle through. You always look at people, you know, I think of people that I was at school with and think, well, they just really seem to transition so well, you know, into university, do brilliantly, go straight into a fantastic job, make lots of money, get married. Da, da, da. You never know what's going on behind the scenes.
Comparing yourself. That's exactly, you just proved
Yeah,
my point. Comparing
yeah, yeah,
yourself.
yeah, yeah.
But there is something comforting about realizing that like everyone's going through that. Because that's exactly it. Like you have this illusion that everyone has it figured out and you don't, which puts even more pressure on you. But then you sort of speak up about these things and everyone is like, no, I'm totally lost. If you think I'm confident, if you think I have it figured out, that's just an illusion. And there's something almost beautiful about sharing that tragedy of your 20s with people around you. And it is what it is. And I also, when you were talking about how this is all happening in your 20s, I hate when people tell me that the 20s are the best years of my life. Oh my gosh, I hate it. And I've been hearing it since I was like, what, 15? It's just a saying that everyone shares. And I was so excited about my 20s. And now I'm 21 and I'm already fed up. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing my 20s anymore. I'm 21. I'm not doing it anymore. And, I can imagine that like it will change eventually. It's a huge difference between early, mid, and late 20s, I think, in that age. But it's just, I think it's probably I don't want to say the worst part of your life, but the most challenging one and the most overwhelming one because of all the reasons you mentioned, of all the things you need to figure it out.
Well, if you're bored or fed up with being in your 20s now, you've got another 9 years to go.
Oh, God.
So
Amazing.
amazing, your catchphrase. But it's going to get better. It will get better. I know it did for me. It started off badly. I found myself, I had a few rubbish jobs driving trucks for a while, believe it or not. And then I started working as a bartender at this really busy bar in a town in southwest London. And from that led me on to getting a job as an assistant manager at a sports club. So it had bar, restaurant and everything. And I was taught there how to cook. So I then became a part-time cook. So I started getting into this whole career of this. It was quite sort of structured and well paid for my age. But then I found myself, because it was a sports club, it had squash courts there, but also it had pitches for, in the summer, cricket, and in the winter, rugby, two very traditional English games. So, and I was working there through the summer, and we would have, at the weekend, we would have these cricket matches, and there'd be two cricket matches going on there. So that's 22 players for each match, 44 players, plus their partners. We're up to 88 people. I would be catering for them. I found myself in my very early 20s on Friday nights in the kitchen of this sports club, working till 11 o'clock at night, just preparing food to be cooked the next day. And I remember thinking to myself, what am I doing? I'm 22, 23, and I should be out there Friday night. All my mates are out there in the pub or clubbing or doing something or gigging, and I'm chopping vegetables. So it just made me think, actually, whilst this is a great career, and it's, when I look back on it, it could have been a great career. It just wasn't the career for me at that time. So I had to make a change. I had to then decide I'm going to stop doing this. And I did. And I went back into, because I'd trained at university, I'd done drama and education. So I was qualified to either be an actor or a teacher. And at that point in my life, I chose acting. And I got a job with a children's theatre company and basically never looked back. But it was a big change. And I was 24 by that time when I made the decision to leave this sports club and leave a whole career, potentially. And at this sports club, for instance, some of the membership, there were people there who were estate agents, and they were starting to say to me, oh, well, Nick, you're settling into this job, this life. We have some really nice apartments here or houses and stuff locally. And it was a very, very nice area of, again, in the southwest suburbs of London. And that got me really scared. I thought, I'm really not ready for this. I'm not settling down. And so that's when I took off and I got this job with a children's theatre company. And that meant touring all over England and a little bit of Wales as well. Uh, completely changed, completely changed my life. And even though I was only 24, it felt like a big change, a kind of, not exactly rut, but a kind of routine that I'd got stuck into, and I managed to break out of it, and it changed the rest of my life. It kind of set the pattern for the rest of my life. So that's my kind of it's never too late story.
No, I totally get that because funnily enough, I had a very similar thing happening to me right after high school. Because after high school, I was planning to go study abroad, as you already kind of mentioned. And immediately after high school, it didn't work out. So I let go of that plan and I sort of accepted that it wasn't for me. And that just showed me that I should stick to the typical pattern of life. And so, because I didn't go to university, I found a job. And it was an office job, full time job. And it was the worst experience of my life. And I think I was freshly 19. And I was working this office job from 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And I remember thinking to myself, is that it? Like, is that how my life will look for the rest of it until I retire? Obviously, not in the same company, but like the same structure of everything. And realizing that, but still being stuck there was the lowest point of my life so far. And it was just terrible. And that was when I started thinking, I have to change this because I can't bear that for the rest of my life. And so that was when I decided to go to America and to be there. And as you already said, I never looked back. And now, sort of seeing that I can do stuff like that and I don't have to settle and I can plan my life the way I want, even though it might be too late for me, which is still something I think. I will be going to university next year and it will be abroad. So I'm sort of coming back to the original plan. And it's a weird feeling because I'll be starting university and I will be 22, starting my bachelor's degree. And all of my friends who went to uni immediately after high school are just finishing their degrees and I will be starting it. So that sort of makes me feel like I'm behind because they will already have it. I will just start it. And it's a bit of unsettling feeling. But at the same time, it showed me that everyone has their own path and that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because I might just be starting university, but I also have working experience and I also have living abroad experience. And I think that I also know what I want and what I want to do and who I am, which is something that so many people don't know. And I'm really grateful for that because it's really important to me. And because of that, funnily enough, I stopped comparing myself to others, but I had people comparing themselves to me, which was such an unreal feeling for me. I remember, and it was actually different people, many different people, some of them my age, some of them younger. And they were like, oh my gosh, you are doing all of this. This is so great. And I'm still stuck at school. I never experienced anything or like this and that. How do I do it? And I was like, I don't know. I'm lost and I'm just doing what I feel is right at the moment. And I'm definitely not someone you should compare yourself to. And being someone people compare themselves to also made me realize how stupid it is because I wouldn't even compare myself to myself at this point because my life at this point is just so random. And I was someone else like 6 months ago. I had different plans like 10 months ago. And so I can't even compare myself to myself. And seeing people comparing to me, I'm like, no, please don't do it. Please do not do it. I have no idea what I'm doing. I can't take the responsibility of affecting your life. So please do not do that. But I get it. And it's probably also the change because as I already said, so many people are scared to change their life and it takes a lot of courage. But at the same time, I did that. I made some huge changes in my life lately, but it doesn't mean I wasn't scared. I mean, in fact, I still am, but I'm doing it scared because what else am I supposed to do? And every time I feel scared to make a change, I remember getting up every Monday morning and traveling to Prague to go to my office job. And it honestly makes me so sick to my stomach because it was honestly terrible for many reasons. But it was just the worst thing that I ever went through. And I remember this feeling. And I'm like, I will rather be scared and make the change scared than go back to something that was supposed to be comfortable, but definitely wasn't.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Very good point. That, yeah, rather be scared than do something that you hate. Especially at, you said you were 19 doing that. Actually, I remember when you were doing that. It's a young age to make that realization, make that decision that I want to make a change. But it's the right time because uh, you're a long time working in life if you're lucky, but it's a long time to do something that you hate or do something that you're bored. If every morning you wake up and you go, "Oh, not again," then that's not a good sign. You should be waking up going, "Yes, I want to grab this day by the lapels." But you made a good point also there. So we've kind of made a little bit of progress here because you now said you realize that you can't actually compare yourself to other people. But the fact is that we all move at a different pace. We're all different. Thank goodness we are. People have different backgrounds, different abilities, different opportunities, different sources.
It's
So
so unfair.
we're all going to move and change at different paces. It's really, really wrong. You're making a burden for yourself to start thinking, oh, so and so has done this already, and I haven't. I'm not even halfway there. Don't do it. I know I've done it. I know that in the past I've done that. And I know that I've gone through that whole process in my head of thinking, no, stop, don't. Live my life. I can't live other people's lives. I've got to live my own life. And
No, you
that's
can't.
the thing.
You can't. And that's exactly what you said, that we all have different sources, different opportunities. Sometimes it's even about luck because some people are luckier at certain point than some other people. And is it fair? No. It's so unfair, but that's unfortunately how life is. And, you could be sad about it. You could just give up because of that. And I'm saying it as someone who sort of did at some point when I was younger, because I was like, I wasn't born to get this opportunity. And so I won't even try. But, that's stupid. That's just stupid. And one thing is having your opportunities given to you, but other thing is creating these opportunities for yourself. And it's harder, obviously, than being given these opportunities. But as I'm saying, life is not fair and it is what it is. And as you were saying that, I sort of got back to my group of girlfriends from high school, which I think is so hilarious seeing it now because it was like 8 or 9 of us. And we were all basically on the same level. We had very, very similar backgrounds, very similar education, very similar abilities, talents, everything. We studied the same major, the same school I went to art school. So we had the same interests, same hobbies, and there really weren't huge differences between us. And then we left high school. And when I look at it now, out of all these people, like 8 or 9 girls, there aren't two of them that would have similar life. Like our lives right now are so different. It's incredible knowing that we came from the similar background or the same background. And when you look at it and when I hear their stories, sometimes it's hard not to be let down by it because some friends of mine got opportunities that maybe I didn't. And some of them were luckier than others. And so again, you tend to compare yourself to these people because you are like, we came from the same high school, we had same dreams, we had similar backgrounds. Why is she luckier than me? But at the same time, as you said, and I loved how you said that we are all different, and thank God for that.
And we are. And I just want to go back to you talking about luck. And it's true. Some people seem to have more luck than others. And sometimes I wonder if there's some mysterious force guiding luck. And sometimes you wonder, is there some kind of level of predestination about our lives, are certain things meant to be. When it comes to luck, I'm not sure that I've been the beneficiary of good luck. There's one area I do think I'm lucky: parking. When I'm driving, I always find a parking space. Always. It's just
That's not really the area of your life you want to be lucky in. I mean, good for you, but I would rather I would rather be lucky in some different area of my life, if I'm honest.
I get it. I do get it. But trust me, if you're driving around the city centre and kids in the back getting really restless and you're looking for somewhere to park and there it is, it's quite something. But yeah, there are better things to be lucky about. I also have a strong belief in there's an element in your life of making your own luck, being in the right place. You're not going to be in the right place if you're just vegetating inside and not. I'm sort of going back to the idea of you lying in bed watching TikTok videos, but I know you were doing our social media, so that's fine.
Yeah, stop blaming me for it,
I'm
okay?
using that as a metaphor to, you know, for not taking action, because you've got to put yourself out there in order for Lady Luck to find you. I hate that expression, Lady Luck. I don't really know why I used it, but you know what I mean. So you actually have to be available for luck to hit. And the other things that I think is that I mentioned before, the people have a fear of change, possibly, and some people maybe are more adaptable than others. But the fact is, your life is going to change. Things will change in your life that you cannot predict and you cannot sort of allow for. I'll give you an example in my life. I started out that I eventually ended up working in broadcasting. So I'm working in quite a technical environment. I became very good at, for example, audio editing, which in those days involved physical bits of tape and razor blades, and you would be cutting it. And then halfway through my broadcasting career, the digital age struck and something called the internet came along. Everything was online. We had to completely relearn pretty much every skill that we knew, that we'd grown up there. Well, I actually did a postgraduate course in a broadcasting school and learned all my broadcasting skills there. Luckily, when all this happened, and it was like a tidal wave at the time, I was working at the BBC in London, and the BBC are very good at providing training courses. I actually remember the training course I went on where we had to learn about this thing called the internet. And one of the first exercises we were given to do, which took us, a good 15 to 20 minutes, was to go online. This is before the days of Google. I think we were probably using a search engine, AOL, in those days, and find a particular type of trade or, industry or something online, something that now we would all do in a matter of seconds, without even thinking about it. But then,
Do you
we
know
were,
how unreal it feels to me being 21?
yeah, because it's been absolutely part of your DNA since you were born. It's like with my kids, I show them pictures of typewriters and say, "Do you know what that is?" Because okay, how did you work it? But so it's just, and trust me, during the course of your life, there's going to be even more changes happening. I mean, this
Yeah.
was quite seismic in mine. And people always say, oh, life is getting faster. It's getting more and more difficult. I'm not sure if that's the case. I'm not sure if it's getting more and more difficult. I think it's always been difficult. If you lived in the 15th century and people were rushing around with swords to bring other people's heads off, I think that would have been pretty difficult as well. But yeah, it's the pace of life is definitely changing. And because of our technological advances, technology tends to constantly speed up. So the ground that we've made between the Industrial Revolution in England in the 19th century, which kind of changed how the world made things, has now been surpassed by the digital revolution of the 2000s. And it's getting faster and faster, and there's changes that certainly I can't even imagine that will be on the horizon and will be very much a part of your working life. I don't want
Yeah.
to scare you, but The thing is to just be mentally ready to accept them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm someone who doesn't mind changes, so I'll be fine. But knowing people who just can't bear changes, that's something like you don't have to make huge changes in your personal life. That's fine. That's your right. That's your life. But exactly when I'm thinking about these things, there will be moments in everybody's life when a huge change will happen. And I think that being able to accept changes is a skill. And if you don't have that skill, it will just make your life more difficult at some point. But if you do have that skill, and when you are able to accept these changes and sort of adapt to them, it will be easier for you in the future. But it starts, you can't wait for the change to happen. You just have to make the change yourself to sort of develop that skill.
I always take the attitude that if most people can do it, then I can do it. You know, if it's something like flying Concorde or being an astronaut, then no, possibly I can't do it because not very many people can. But
Mhm.
if there are things to learn how to do that most people could do, then you kind of figure, well, I'm most people, so I'll have a go. Might not succeed.
Are you comparing yourself to people then?
No, I'm just
See what I
measuring.
did there?
Yeah, yeah. Damn, I've just been caught out. No, no, not comparing, measuring against.
Sometimes it can be helpful. Like in this case, I know exactly what you mean, and sometimes it can be helpful, but it's a scale. And comparing yourself a little bit, I think can be helpful and can actually push you further because if you are doing something and it's a skill like let's say writing and you see someone who's better at that skill and you sort of compare yourself in the way to learn how to be better, I think that's good. But it's a different situation than when you are comparing your life path and your life situation to someone else.
Yeah. Another point I want to make is that because going back to what I was talking about, the pace of life is getting faster. Of course, it's not. You can't make time faster. Time is time. But what is getting faster is the pace of development of technology, and technology is taking over our lives every day to an extraordinary extent. And it's natural. It's been happening ever since we started getting. When I say we, I mean the human race, if I may speak on behalf of the whole world, we started getting technological, which was more or less in the 19th century. But then it's just got faster and faster, and all these changes are coming. And there's this expression in English, this idiom. We do love our idioms. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, the fact is now old dogs have got to learn new tricks. It's not a question of sitting there thinking, oh, I'm just going to ignore this, and being completely anti technology. We have, again, another word for this, Luddite. We call people who refuse to accept technology Luddites, but you can't be like that anymore because it's part of everybody's life. And I think, for the most part, people are, whatever age they are adapting to an extent. And a lot of what we've been talking about is working life, and you have to, if you unless you want to be ending up pushing trolleys at your local supermarket and taking them back inside from the car park, which is a job, and if you're doing that, good for you. It may be that you have aspirations that go beyond that. If you do, you're going to have to learn to be changeable, adaptable, willing to take on new challenges, and knowing that whatever age you are, whatever stage of life you are, it's your life. Don't compare it to somebody else's, but it's never too late to do that.
So I kind of wanted to wrap this whole episode up with saying that it's all right to feel that you are already behind in your 20s because I don't think that, or, 30s, 40s, whatever the age is. But the point is that we all feel it and it's not unusual and it's completely valid given all the circumstances of life and social media and your peers. But at the same time, and that's something, it's a friendly reminder for myself because I still struggle with it and I still feel like I'm already behind in my own life. But talking to you and sort of seeing how your life went, it just helped me realize how stupid it is. because there are opportunities waiting for me in my life that I can't even imagine at this point. I can't plan them, but they will be there and they will come. And I want to do it in the same way you've done it your whole life. And when the opportunity comes, just take it and not being scared, or being scared, but take it anyway, because that's what changes your life for the better.
Okay, so I think that just about wraps it up for this particular episode. But what about you? Have you had a moment in your life where you've done something completely different? You've changed your life. You've realized it was never too late. Let us know. Contact us. Let us know. We'll read it out. It'd be really, really interesting to know how it's worked for you.
You can write us a message on our Instagram at livehappens.podcast.